In the last several weeks, we have learned about polarity of molecules, extraction and product purification of caffeine, and reactivities of alkyl halides by SN1 and SN2 mechanism, right? So this week, what we're going to do is some synthesis. So we're going to synthesize 4-methylcyclohexene and alkene from 4-methylcyclohexanol and alcohol by acid catalyzed dehydration reaction. So once we get this 4-methylcyclohexene, we have to do product purification by distillation method and perform an N saturation test. So this N saturation test is a analysis of 4-methylcyclohexene, whether there is a carbon-carbon double bond, right? So this is a product analysis method that we will do this week, okay? So before coming into the lab, to make sure, read experiment number 22, lab procedure itself, and technique number 5 and number 6, reaction methods, and technique number 14, the simple distillation method for product purification. Okay? So how do we synthesize 4-methylcyclohexene? Looking at this general mechanism, we start off with 4-methylcyclohexanol in the presence of sulfuric acid as a catalyst, together with phosphoric acid, you generate 4-methylcyclohexene. Okay, so we're going from alcohol group into an alkene group, carbon-carbon double bonded molecule right here. Okay, the challenge of this reaction is that it is reversible. Reversible means you see a double arrow here, right? Double arrows, double-headed arrows. That means the product is forming, right? You get 4-methylcyclohexene, but then the product 4-methylcyclohexene is being formed back into 4-methylcyclohexanol. So it's going from products to reactant and reactant back to products. Okay, it's going back and forth. So that's the challenge of this reaction. So the question is, how do we drive the reaction to the right side? How do we get more 4-methylcyclohexene? Okay, one way to do that is to remove water as much as possible while it's forming, while the product is being formed, right? It is an acid catalyzed dehydration, so we need to remove water as soon as possible, and hopefully we get more alkene product instead of alcohol, right? Before you do that, there's some precaution you need to take because sulfuric acid and phosphoric acid both are very corrosive. Well, it's an acid, right? So both are very corrosive, and make sure to wear gloves when you're handling these materials. And in the event of skin contact, flush the area, affected area with water for 10 to 15 minutes and notify your instructor. Okay, so another thing to note is the 4-methylcyclohexene have a strong, nauseous, and rancid odor. Okay, so make sure to set up all the glassware, and when you collect the product, make sure you cap it well and stay in the hood. Okay, work in the hood, right? If you accidentally breathe this vapor, okay, you will get nauseous or dizzy. You quickly step outside of the lab and get some fresh air. Okay, if it's not working out for you, contact and or not contact, I mean notify your instructor or your TA. Okay. First, when you come into the lab is to set up simple distillation apparatus. Okay, so the diagram shown here is the setup for simple distillation glassware, and this is where the reaction will take place, right? So get all the glassware and set it up accordingly. So we have a hot plate at the bottom here. So this is the heat source for the reaction to take place. And in the reaction vessel is the round bottom flask, the distillation flask. That's where you put in 4-methylcyclohexanol, phosphoric acid, and sulfuric acid. Okay, so the solution need to be stirred. So you need to use magnetic spin bar, and you just put in small magnetic spin bar, and then you stir the solution, mix the solution to homogeneous solution. Okay, do not use boiling stones because boiling stones are made of carbon base, and it's very porous. They are porous, so a strong acid can eat away all the carbon-based porous material, right? So use a magnetic spin bar to mix the solution, okay? So as the reaction progresses with the heat source, um, the solution will start to boil and then the vapor will rise, right? So the boiling point of 4-methylcyclohexene is will hit the thermometer and the temperature will rise and register at 101 degrees Celsius, right? So let's say right here at 101 degrees Celsius, that's the boiling point of uh, 4-methylcyclohexene, right? As the vapor rise, hit the thermometer, temperature will climb, and then later the um, vapor will start to travel down the condenser tube right here. Okay, so the condenser is made of what? Well, this is a water cooling condenser. So it's a piece of glassware connected to a water hose. Okay, so this is water will come in from here, water in. So make sure you connect the condenser to a water source, right? You will be provided with little orange hoses, and make sure you connect it to the bottom and to the top as well, right? With the water coming in from the bottom, it will travel up the condenser and out from the top, right? This is how you want to set it up. It's a water cooling condenser. So water out from the top, okay? So as the vapor travel down this water cooling condenser, the vapor will condense back into a liquid form and then collect it into a receiving flask. This is where you collect 4-methylcyclohexene, right? So the receiving flask is connected to a distillation head. Um, oh, I'm sorry, not distillation head, vacuum adapter here, or receiving flask adapter. Okay, make sure that these two pieces of glassware are connected tightly, right? Because you do not want this smelly solution, right, to be released into the lab, right? It's a strong odor, okay? It smells, right? This 4-methylcyclohexene is smell, right? So make sure you work in the hood, okay? So this is the general setup for 4-methylcyclohexene reaction setup for using simple distillation apparatus, okay? So, next thing I want to look at is what's happening in this solution, right? What is happening to the mechanism of to form 4-methylcyclohexene? So, in terms of synthesis, we are starting off with 4-methylcyclohexanol, right? It's a hydroxy group, and this is a poor leaving group. So we need to protonate this uh, hydroxy group using with the phosphoric acid. So phosphoric acid is a proton source, right? So we need to protonate this OH group. So it will pick up a hydrogen from here, pick up a proton source right here. Okay, so to form a good leaving group, right? Water is a good leaving group, so Gl, right? So OH is a poor leaving group, so it's a Pl, right? So as the water leaves, okay, it will form a carbocation right here. Okay, this carbocation is secondary carbocation because this carbon right here is attached to two other carbon, right? So you have carbocation formation, and this dihydrogen phosphate will then pick up this proton, right? Conjugate base of phosphoric acid will pick up a proton, and electron is collapsed into the ring system to form an alkene group, carbon-carbon double bond right here, right? So you get 4-methylcyclohexene, right? So the challenge right here, the question that we've been asking about this reaction is how do we drive this equilibrium to the product? Well, we're using distillation, right? We're using distillation method. So as the products form in this reaction vessel, right, we're immediately distilling it, collecting it at 101, right? 101 degrees Celsius, and hopefully we get more 4-methylcyclohexene here, okay? Notice that this 101 degrees Celsius is very close to a boiling point of water as well. So you have a water co-distill in this receiving flask. Okay. So now we have another problem. So how do we get rid of this water? Huh? We do get 4-methylcyclohexene. Okay. And we are also getting water. So we need to get rid of this water. So how do we do that? Well, we have to use drying agent, right? So drying agent mean what? Getting rid of this water. So how do we do that? So the first thing you would do is using saturated sodium chloride, right? Saturated sodium chloride basically is a brine solution, right? Brine solution, sodium chloride. So it's a salt. It will remove the any unreacted phosphoric acid, and it will also remove some of the water as well. So basically, as you add this saturated sodium chloride, it will form two layers, right? It will force to separate. Organic layer will be on the top. So I'll just put P. This is your product right here, and you have this water in here, right? Or saturated sodium chloride. Okay, water with saturated sodium chloride will be at the bottom. So you have two layers, right? So you pipe it out, the bottom layer, dump it out. Okay, so this water layer is gone. Now you have this product, which is organic layer, right? Organic layer. Okay, but in organic layer, you still have some traces of water. So how do we get rid of that? We cannot pipette it out. We cannot decant it out. So you still have small droplets of water. So how do we get rid of those? You want to make sure that this 4-methylcyclohexene is really dry. So how do we get rid of these droplets of water? Well, you can add in anhydrous sodium sulfate. So if you add in, you have this to the top layer, you add in anhydrous, I'll put a short form here, anhydrous sodium sulfate, right? So anhydrous sodium sulfate will take away the water to make this top solution, this organic layer completely dry. So Na2SO4 is anhydrous. It will take a water molecule, so it will become like this, right? Hydrated salt plus water, right? So yeah, so the whole point of this anhydrous sodium sulfate is to remove the water, traces of water. Okay, so that's how you dry out the alkene product, 4-methylcyclohexene. Okay, to verify that we have synthesized 4-methylcyclohexene, we have to do some qualitative analysis, right? So one of the qualitative analysis you can do in the lab is called unsaturation test. Unsaturation test will provide a confirmation of the presence of carbon-carbon double bond in organic molecule, right? So let's look at that. So if you take a 1 or 2 ml of 4-methylcyclohexene, put it into a test tube and add in a few drops of bromine red solution, it will react to form a colorless solution, right? So this whole thing will become colorless, right? Because bromine solution is red, and when you see the loss of red color indicates that presence of alkene in an organic compound. So in this case will be 4-methylcyclohexene, right? There's a carbon-carbon double bond, okay? Um, Another test you can do is using potassium permanganate solution. So this potassium permanganate solution is purple color. So again, add in a few 1 or 2 mils of 4-methylcyclohexene in a test tube and add a few drops of purple potassium permanganate solution, and it will form a colorless solution with a brown precipitate. Right, so the brown precipitate is manganese dioxide, so that will indicate the presence of alkene in the molecule, right? So depending on the instructor, you can either do bromine test or potassium permanganate test, okay? Hopefully you get 4-methylcyclohexene instead of 4-methylcyclohexanol, right? So the 4-methylcyclohexanol will be the negative control, right? Negative control means it should not react with bromine or potassium permanganate solution, okay? If you have 4-methylcyclohexanol, then you are expecting red solution, right? All the red solution bromine solution will remain red, and also potassium permanganate solution will remain purple, right? Okay, so look out for these changes in color and also formation of brown precipitate, okay? So in summary, once you have synthesized 4-methylcyclohexene, make sure to weigh the product and determine the percent yield. Okay, we will provide you with an IR spectrum of the 4-methylcyclohexene. You can compare this IR spectrum along with starting material for methylcyclohexanol and look at the differences and report it in a post-lab report. Okay. Um, as mentioned earlier, you can do N saturation test to verify that you have 4-methylcyclohexene, the presence of carbon-carbon double bond in this molecule. Okay, so be sure to do all of these in the lab and make sure you are careful with handling strong acid and make sure to work in the hood. Okay.